Have you ever watched an American movie or TV show and noticed that people keep saying these two words? You know. Maybe you've heard something like this. It was just, kind of weird. Or, he's a nice guy, Or, you know how traffic gets around here. Now, here's the interesting part. Most English learners already know what means, and you probably learned that it means something like, do you know? But in real conversations, native speakers often use in completely different ways. Sometimes they aren't asking a question, sometimes they aren't checking your knowledge, and sometimes doesn't really have a direct translation at all. Hi, I'm Amin, and on this channel, my goal is to help you guys speak English the way native speakers actually do, not just the way textbooks teach it. And in today's video, we're going to explore 7 different ways native speakers use Once you understand these meanings, you'll start hearing them everywhere in movies, TV shows, podcasts, interviews, and everyday conversations. And more importantly, you'll finally understand why native speakers say so often. Let's jump in. The first one is to check shared understanding. Let's begin with one of the most common uses. Sometimes simply means I think you understand what I mean. The speaker isn't asking whether you literally know something or not. They're checking that you're following their idea. For example, learning a new language takes patience, The speaker isn't asking a question, they're simply inviting you to agree with the idea. Another example is, he's actually a really nice person, Again, the speaker assumes you'll understand or relate to what they're saying. You'll hear this use constantly in everyday conversations. The second one is to give yourself time to think. Native speakers don't always speak perfectly. Just like everyone else, they sometimes need a second or two to organize their thoughts, to gather up their thoughts. One way they do is by saying, I was walking home and, I realized I had forgotten my phone. Or it was, one of those really busy days. Here, isn't adding new information. It's simply helping the speaker keep talking while thinking. Many learners worry about every pause when speaking English. The truth is, native speakers use little expressions like that all the time. Number 3 is to make your speech sound softer. Sometimes speaking too directly can sound a little harsh. Native speakers often soften what they're saying. Is one way to do that. Compare these 2 sentences. First, it's difficult. Now, it's difficult, The second one sounds warmer, more conversational, less like a fact being announced. Another example. I was a little disappointed, It feels more personal and less aggressive. Number 4 is to talk about shared experiences. This is one of my favorite uses. Sometimes speakers assume everyone has experienced the same thing. Instead of explaining everything, they simply say, For example, when you're trying to sleep but your brain won't stop thinking? Almost everyone immediately understands. Another example is, how airports are always crowded during the holidays? Again, the speaker assumes you share that experience. This use creates an instant connection between the speaker and the listener. Number 5 is to add emphasis. Sometimes makes a statement feel stronger. Imagine someone says, it was really embarrassing, Or, that exam was incredibly difficult, The expression adds emotion. It tells the listener, I'm serious, or I really mean it. It's subtle, but native speakers use it naturally. Number 6, to keep the listener involved. Good conversations aren't one-sided. Native speakers often use expressions that gently invite the listener to stay engaged. Is one of them. Imagine someone telling a story. Instead of speaking non-stop, they occasionally say, this gives the listener little opportunities to react with expressions like, yeah, right, exactly. Even without asking a real question, you know helps make the conversation feel interactive. It's one reason native speakers often sound so relaxed and conversational. And the seventh one is in storytelling. If you listen to interviews, podcasts, or everyday conversations, you'll notice that storytellers say you know quite often. For example, so I walked into the restaurant and everyone suddenly looked at me. Or we were driving for hours and we finally found a place. In these examples, isn't carrying a specific meaning. Instead, it's acting like conversational glue. It connects ideas naturally and gives the speaker a smoother rhythm. That's why stories told by native speakers often sound so effortless. Should you use Now, you might be wondering, should I start saying all the time? The answer is not yet. First, focus on recognizing it. Start paying attention when you watch movies, YouTube videos, podcasts, or interviews. Notice how often native speakers use it. Notice where they place it. Notice what they mean each time. After you've heard it hundreds of times, it will begin to sound natural to you. Then you can start using it yourself little by little. Remember, fluency isn't about copying every expression you hear. It's about using those expressions naturally and at the right moment. Common mistakes. Let's look at a few mistakes English learners often make. The first one is translating every literally. For example, it was, kind of expensive. This does not mean it was expensive. Instead, is simply making the sentence sound more conversational. Trying to translate it word for word often creates confusion. The second mistake is forcing into every sentence. Some learners discover this expression and suddenly start saying it after every few words. That doesn't sound natural, guys. Native speakers use it naturally, not constantly. Too much of it can actually make you sound nervous or unprepared. The key is balance. Listening challenge. Here's something I'd like you to try. The next time you watch an English movie, TV show, YouTube video, or podcast, pay attention every time you hear someone says, Ask yourself these questions. Are they checking shared understanding? Are they thinking? Are they telling a story? Are they talking about a shared experience? Are they emphasizing a point? You'll be surprised how often you hear it once you start listening for it. Quick review. Today you learned that doesn't always mean do you know. Native speakers use it to check shared understanding, give themselves time to think, make speech sound softer, talk about shared experience, add emphasis, keep the listener engaged, make storytelling sound smoother and more natural. The next time you hear someone say don't immediately translate it in your head. Instead, ask yourself, why did they use it here? The more you notice these small expressions, guys, the more you'll begin to understand how native speakers really communicate. And eventually you'll stop translating English word by word and start understanding it naturally. That's all. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment and tell me which use of surprised you the most. Also, let me know if there are other everyday expressions you'd like me to explain in future videos. Thanks for watching. I'm Amin, and I'll see you in the next video.